Good morning. It is fantastic to see you all. We've got a pretty good crowd. About half of the 30 people who registered are here, which tells me that we should probably get going because we have a lot of wonderful content to cover today. Again, my name is Christine Gallagher. I'm the Director of Member Engagement at the Reno+Sparks Chamber of Commerce. It is absolutely fantastic to see all of these names today. I recognize many of them and welcome you warmly here today. I hope to see you in person soon, actually, at another chamber event. But I quickly want to introduce everyone to this concept of member marketing solutions. So you all signed up for this call today called Member Marketing Solutions. And so I want to share a little bit about what that means to us here at the Chamber. So basically, Member Marketing Solutions is a program that we created back in 2020. And it was kind of a match made in heaven because at the time I was coming into working at the Chamber in 2020 with a news background. And of course, during 2020, a lot of organizations, a lot of businesses had a lot of needs and needed new ways to get the word out about their business. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to leverage my news background. I'm going to rally some local news outlets together to provide expertise, to provide advertising discounts to different chamber members that are part of our organization. And thank goodness about 7, actually probably more than 7 hopped on at the time, including Northern Nevada Business Weekly, KUNR, PBS Reno, Colo, News 4, Fox 11, and NSN, Channel 2 News, and of course, This Is Reno have all joined the program since it was formed in order to help our members succeed in their marketing goals. So we're going to be having a member marketing solutions call today with This Is Reno, and their focus, of course, today is going to be on digital marketing, which is what they specialize in. They're a fantastic news outlet here locally. They do a great amount of in-depth and advocacy work for the community. And so we are grateful to have their insight today. Before we get to them, however, I just have a couple quick announcements for you. So first, I'm really happy to say that tomorrow's first ever nonprofit boot camp that we're holding here at the Chamber is officially sold out. So if you're coming, I look forward to seeing you. It's going to be a fantastic time. It's also going to be a very tight space. So be prepared to rub shoulder to shoulder, quite literally, with your colleagues and with your friends. And we're going to have a fantastic morning of sessions and panelists covering anything from grant writing to fundraising, to marketing, to tax laws that may have changed in the last year that you need to know about as a nonprofit. So can't wait to have that, and also can't wait to host many more in the years to come. Second, we have our Civics 101 class, another first that we're presenting in partnership with the National Judicial College. That is happening on August 16th, and I would encourage highly all of you to register for that particular event. The goal of that event is twofold. One, it's to bring you back to your high school government class days, which could be a little rusty for some of us. I know for me, my 20th high school reunion is this Friday. So some of those classes are feeling a bit rusty to me at this point. Maybe you can relate. But we want to reinvigorate and re-inspire the community, the public, when it comes to working with their government and knowing how their government is intended to work for them. So we're going to be reminding everyone what the 3 branches of government are, what they look like, how they're intended to function. And then we're also going to talk a lot about how businesses and nonprofits can work with their government in order to solve problems. So you'll actually get a chance to meet and network with a lot of people who work in government, whether they're elected officials or appointed officials, or people who work for different sectors of government. So it's going to be a fantastic and unique event that we encourage everyone to attend. And lastly, I'm not going to go through all of these events, but there is literally always a way to connect with us here at the Chamber, and also to connect with your fellow members and partners. We've got our member open house coming up in August. Coffee and Commerce happens every month, as does Business After Hours. And I see Sparks Water Bar is actually here today, and that's where the next Business After Hours is going to be. Shout out to them. But we look forward to seeing you in person at any and all of these events, because that is why we exist. We exist to advocate for you, to keep you informed, and to connect you to one another. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap up my portion of this presentation and kick things back over to This Is Reno. Thank you.
Okay, welcome everybody. Can I share my screen now? There we go. Go
All
to
right, it's looking
slideshow
good.
view. So how does that look? Looks
Looks
good.
fantastic.
All right. Well, I am Bob Conrad. I'm with This Is Reno.com. We are Reno's only locally owned online news and event source. We founded This Is Reno way back in 2009, and it has continued to grow ever since then. As much as we are a news agency, what we don't really promote is that we're also a advertising agency and a media buyer, obviously focused on our own platform. And by way of introduction, I have a lot of experience in marketing, communications, and of course, news production and writing. So we have varied backgrounds. And Mary Claire, would you like to say a couple words about yourself and your background and
Yes,
what you do
absolutely.
for us?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'd like to thank Christine for hosting us today. We really appreciate all the support from the Chamber. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mary Claire Bouchér, and I am an account executive with This Is Reno. I've been working with Bob at this fantastic project for about a year now. My background most recently was in marketing and brand portfolio management. So that's kind of a fancy way of saying I used to be on the side of the table that you're on, working for a boutique commercial real estate developer in figuring out how to market and do things like ad buying and social media and digital marketing, all that stuff from kind of like your side of the table. And now I'm on this side of the table, then helping folks like you figure out how to put those solutions to best use, whether it be for nonprofit, small business, large business, government, pseudo-government institutions. And we're really excited that we have a lot of great offerings, and we're very honored to be a part of the marketing member solutions and offer some favorable pricing for Reno+Sparks Chamber of Commerce members. So with that, I will turn it back over to Bob, and he'll kind of let you know a little bit more about digital marketing in general and maybe what we can do for you in the future as well. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. And yes, we will talk about marketing. I wanted to be a little more specific with this presentation to talk about advertising in the digital space. There's a lot of incredibly interesting things happening with digital advertising, and we'll touch upon some of them, why it may be good for you and why it may not be good for you. As we mentioned, we are locally owned, we are independent, and we are online. And really our goal is to inform our community. We both believe in uplifting and challenging our community. And sometimes, we may get crosswise with local governments or whatnot, but it's our belief that, putting a mirror out there on local activities and shining a light on things that maybe have not gotten some attention is the best way for folks to be informed about what is going on. But again, as I said, we are also a digital advertising agency by default because of the very nature of what we do. We are reader supported with paid subscriptions, which gives readers access to our archives and our entire website, but we are also advertising supported. Those are basically our two primary sources of income. They are not making us millionaires by any stretch, but most definitely they are needed in this marketplace to continue doing what we're doing. And I will tell you, as much as I love producing news and writing news stories, the advertising side of things is actually a lot of what we do too. And I personally like that because it puts my marketing skills and my marketing background to work. But let's just talk about digital advertising. In a nutshell, it's basically using web and other digital technologies to market and promote your messages, your products, and your services. I see that we do have some nonprofits online today. So I tend to use the words product and service interchangeably because I do have some background in nonprofit and of course government work as well. And I think those are equally as vital as, perhaps if you have a bar and you're trying to sustain yourself on, customers coming in and getting drinks or food or whatever. So I think services are equally as vital in the marketplace. Why can I not advance? There we go. So just briefly, where do you see digital advertising? We tend to think it happens primarily on social media, but that is not always the case. I mean, of course, just about every social media platform is going to have very aggressive advertising, and I'll show you a few examples here in the next slide. But we also see, for us, our email newsletter is a very prominent and engaging place for advertising to occur, whether that's with, let's say, short text messages encouraging people to click a link, or a display ad that is really designed for visual representation of your brand. And display ads for us are very popular, and we also have things like pop-ups and rotating ads and all those kinds of things. You also see digital advertising a lot on search engines. Google, in my opinion, was one of the early, and Yahoo and AOL and ask.com, I think it was called back in the day, were pioneers of using their search engines really as a tool for users to find information, but also to promote and advertise their brands. So it's very common that you see advertising when you go to Google or any of the other search engines. You're seeing more and more highly targeted advertising. I personally see it on Hulu a lot. I get a lot of Catherine Cortez Masto ads on both HBO and Hulu right now. And we'll talk about why that is and why maybe somebody, let's say in Hawaii, would not be getting those same ads being played in between episodes or parts of shows. And again, you see advertising digital ads on your mobile phones all over the place whenever you visit a website or a social media platform. You will be getting advertising pretty much put right in front of your face. Roadside billboard technology, and then also kiosks, which are becoming more popular. Let's say at the airport or casinos and things like that, you're going to see advertising there too. And with respect to billboards and why I think they're becoming more popular is the ability to adjust on the fly digital messaging in real time. And I took this quote here from Lamar Outdoor Advertising, which is one of the two prominent billboard companies that operate here in Reno. And one of the things they advertise is the ability to stream live data and user-generated content from your website or social media. And this isn't necessarily a brand new thing. I remember about 12 years ago, RSCVA was running a campaign in the Bay Area that featured sort of an animated bighorn sheep, and it was publishing Twitter messages from RSCVA here in Reno to people driving down the highway in the Bay Area, and they were doing some pretty snarky things aimed at San Francisco and Oakland and traffic and things like that, encouraging people to come to Reno. And it was very funny, but apparently it made some people upset, and they ended up canceling the campaign. But I thought it was brilliant, and I would encourage you to explore similar things if that's in your wheelhouse or of interest. So digital technology is very exciting, and you see it everywhere. I pulled up just some recent examples yesterday here on the left of my screen. Typically, when I go on Facebook, usually about the second or third post is going to be an ad. And this one was aimed at me, a musician, although I would say not very well aimed at me because I'm a drummer and not a guitarist. So this was the ad that came up on my feed yesterday for guitar strings. And then on the This Is Reno Twitter account here in the middle was usually, again, it's very similar with Facebook. Twitter will publish those ads, usually 1 or 2 tweets down from your feed. And then on the Reno Reddit subreddit on Reddit, again, 2 or 3 down, you start seeing the ads pop up, ideally targeted toward the people that are going to be using them. And that has frankly gotten a little bit more challenging with some of the legal changes and things that Apple has kind of pushed on Facebook to do. So we'll talk maybe a little bit about that here in a minute. So this is my favorite slide of this whole presentation is why really you should consider digital advertising. It's highly targeted. As I mentioned, Catherine Cortez Masto and her campaign running advertisements on Hulu in my bedroom is very targeted. You may not see that same ad down, let's say, in Florida, right? Because she's not running in Florida. But what about the technology allows her to run that advertisement to somebody in Reno? Well, really, it's the ability to target those advertisements effectively by geographic region. But that's not the only way you can target. You can target people by age, by gender, as I mentioned, location, and sometimes by interest. So that's why Facebook sent me an ad knowing I'm a musician, knowing I visit, musician-related websites, but unfortunately it failed because it was for guitar strings and I know nothing about playing guitar. So that would be perhaps a disadvantage. Digital advertising can also be very cost effective. I personally just ran a campaign on a social media platform. Once it reached $100, I canceled it. The campaign is over. So that was very convenient from my standpoint. So if you have a low budget, I would say digital advertising is perhaps one of the best ways to go. It can also drive customers to you and your business or organization directly. And that is a very powerful thing that you will not necessarily get with that roadside billboard or a television advertisement. Once you see a billboard, then what are you going to click on? Hopefully you're not clicking while you're driving. So that's why I think digital, particularly in the social media space, is very effective, is because you can reach those customers very easily and engage with them. It also puts you in the driver's seat. You can do your own advertising campaigns online. And it is fairly accessible if you have, let's say, a brand or an advertising account on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and whatnot. And the ability to generate real-time data is also something I think is far more beneficial digitally than, let's say, a print advertisement in a newspaper. So I think the numbers are also more reliable, going back to this idea of real-time data. And I have an example with the next slide that I hopefully will convince you that real-time data is a thing that you're not going to get necessarily in offline advertising platforms, such as print or maybe even television. So one ad I've been seeing a lot, and I'm not proud of this, when I reach age 50, and I've seen this on Facebook and Google and also my Hulu advertisements. 3 guesses. Do I have to spell this out? Get offline with me if if you need an explanation of what ad is being targeted at me. In fact, I tell my wife almost every other evening, I'm feeling very targeted by this advertisement right now, and she just chuckles. So, okay, real-time data. Just for fun, for this presentation, I posted a new ad up on thisisreno.com. It's still up there. You can take a look at it and look at it for yourself. It is a sticky note. We call it the sticky ad, and it's just a very simple call to action, or CTA, that just says subscribe to the This Is Reno podcast. And I kid you not, I was testing our ad server platform that we pay for to do these kinds of things. I said, okay, how soon before I actually start seeing a result? And I kid you not, it was within 3 minutes. We had 15 views and 1 click, and a click-through rate of 6.6%. Don't believe any of those numbers for one reason I'll talk about here momentarily. But I wanted to put the idea out there that we can generate this data very quickly as soon as we launch ads. And again, this is not something available to people who are doing print advertisements, because there's no real way, in my opinion, a real reliable way to know how many people saw that print ad. They will give you an estimation, but in my opinion, that's somewhat suspect. So this morning, this is why we need to be careful about running real-time results like that. This morning, I want to just, if you look at this number here, CTR, 6.6 yesterday, and now it's dropped So it actually dropped yesterday. The more people saw the ads right here and then clicked on them, that number dropped to 4.2%. Now, as time has gone on, in just less than 24 hours, you'll see that click-through rate has dropped to 2.47%. That's because the more people are viewing it, they're not necessarily clicking on it. And that's not a bad thing. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But it does show you that over time, these kinds of numbers will evolve and change for a variety of reasons. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can get real-time results in your digital advertising efforts. Okay, disadvantages. This is also my favorite slide because I always recommend to people, well, first and foremost, if your business is doing well, don't come to us for advertising, because I will personally tell you, if you're making a profit, if you're happy and your business is going fine, why on earth would you spend money on advertising? Well, one business we work with, the guy just wants to see his name everywhere. So, okay, we'll accommodate that, but I mean, whatever. If that's not how I would spend my money, but that's okay. But some may argue that digital advertising is not as effective. And I would argue, if you have the budget and you are really aggressive and want to do advertising, definitely consider TV. I think TV in a lot of ways still rules in terms of advertising options out there. Digital most definitely is viewed as pretty spammy and visually intrusive. I just for fun, I had to pick on another media outlet this morning. I just went to their website to see, like, okay, how many ads are they running and what happens the minute I go to their website? And I kid you not, I literally would have had to taken 3 actions just to view the content and the front page of that website. Number one was the cookie thing that you're seeing on a lot of websites now. You have to acknowledge that a cookie is being placed on your computer that will kind of designates that, yes, you're going to be on this website, and you can view their content. And then the next one was this pop-up, let the news come to you, and now you got to close that. And then underneath all that was this giant scroll down ad that you had to scroll down just to view the front page of the website. So we're also guilty as charged in doing these kinds of things, but certainly they can be offensive to people coming to the website. And I want to say that that is also a reality of running a news website. We really do have to rely on advertising. So, but again, if your target audience is not going to be favorable to that, let's say perhaps they're older and maybe not attuned to online technologies, that may backfire on you. There is some evidence that click-through rates may be declining. I'm not always a huge fan of just clicks as a reason to advertise, so we can talk about that as well. The big one, however, is that tech and analytics and understanding the various platforms can be really challenging. I mean, I've been advertising on Facebook and Google and YouTube and Twitter for years now, and I've scratched the surface of what I know about those back-end platforms. And again, I would just echo that point here. Every channel is different, and they can be very complex and hard to understand. And then, you're also seeing in the last, 5 years, people are just really dropping social media or certain social media channels. And so if you're putting all your advertising dollars into Facebook, you may not be getting the exact audience that you really want. So that's something to keep in mind, is that, different channels will reach different kind of audiences. I'm seeing personally, Facebook is trending toward older audiences anymore. It used to be when I first got on back in 05, 06 maybe, it tended to be younger folks. I mean, it was literally grown out of an effort at a university campus. So Facebook tended to be younger when it first started. As older people started coming onto Facebook, younger people started dropping off and going to things like Snapchat and Instagram and things like that. So you're definitely seeing evolving trends with who is using these technologies and platforms. So another thing I really thought was going to be helpful to talk about today is the marketing fundamentals. And if you don't know about goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics, I have another presentation I've done on this for the university, and I'd be happy to send it to you. But I think these fundamentals are really key. Before you even start thinking about advertising, you really need to understand who it is you are going to advertise to and why. That is fundamental and it is critical. I pulled up the screen grab here from Facebook. They have given you the option to do what they call a smart audience, which is they will automatically adjust your campaign based on how your ad is being received by viewers. I am personally not a fan of Facebook's algorithms for a variety of reasons, so I'm not sure I would necessarily trust this. However, it pre-populated here what I probably would have picked anyway. I may have, frankly, boosted the age range up to about 30, because I know our audience, and we've got a slide on that here in a bit, and I frankly may have dropped it to maybe down to 60. So I would have narrowed our age range. But knowing your audience is absolutely critical. Knowing how they receive messages and how to communicate those is also critical. So this is, and again, Facebook is a pretty good platform for this. You can put in different messages for different ads to try out, okay, who's going to respond to this, and then who is responding to it, and then you can adjust your advertising as you go. So I think that's a key point that really needs to be understood is what you are advertising. Your calls to action, I think, are also important. I think Facebook generally does a pretty good job of that. But stepping back and looking at your business goals, objectives, strategies, and tactics is really important. And if you don't understand the distinction between those, they can be fairly technical. So I would encourage you to explore that, because those can really help you focus all these other things. Your audience, how are you going to spend your money, and things like that. And then how do you evaluate whether or not you're successful? Well, if you are a business, you're going to be successful if you're staying in business and making money, and that's fairly easy. So whatever your marketing or digital advertising program is, you need to make sure that you're still bringing in a profit. But if you're spending $5,000 a month on advertising and you're not bringing in a profit, or maybe even losing money, then I would definitely scale back on your ads and revisit your goals and objectives. If, for example, you are a nonprofit and offering a service, your metrics and things you would measure would be quite a bit different. So obviously you're not generating a profit, but you may be increasing the number of people that you are reaching with your programs. And that could be a really valid way to measure whether or not you're being successful. Okay, so with digital marketing and digital advertising, these are, in my opinion, the core concepts that are really important to understand. And they are somewhat distinct, but they are also related. And they also, in my opinion, have different drawbacks and benefits. So I'll talk a little bit about them just briefly. Reach is the number of different people that see your ad. And a lot of people get that confused with impressions, which is the number of times your ad is seen. And if you think about that for a second, we're talking about the number of people here. One person can see your ad multiple times, and that measurement is called frequency. So if I see the same ad 20 times, that's frequency, and 20 impressions, a reach of 1. If 3,000 people see your ad one time, the reach is 3,000, the impressions are 3,000, and the frequency is 1. So understanding those differences is highly critical, because you may think reach is the most important thing. I want to reach everyone in Reno. Well, if they're not part of your target audience, you're flushing money down the drain. So if you, let's say your audience is only 10,000 people, but they're not engaging with your ad, you may want to focus on impressions. Hit those same 10,000 people multiple times, increase the frequency with which they see the ad so that they are more likely to engage with it. If that's confusing, I will send this to you, or you can call me after this presentation. I can explain it hopefully a little bit better. Clicks. I really want to talk about clicks for a minute. People think news agencies, and some do, I know for a fact some do, are all focused on clicks. Clicks are very critical for advertising. They're very critical for our eyeballs. However, in my opinion, they can be a very superficial measurement. A click just means somebody went to your ad and went, okay, click, what is that? Interesting. If nothing happens after that, that click is worthless. If somebody clicks on your ad and then buys your product or signs up for your program or your newsletter, then that is exactly what you want to achieve. So clicks are important, but they're not the be all end all of digital advertising. Some days, frankly, and on some efforts, I would really focus on impressions. And our banner ads for our platform, I think, are extremely beneficial for impressions. And I think we do a very good job of making sure your ads are seen repeatedly. And I think impressions are often underlooked, frankly. And I think people erroneously focus only on clicks, and I don't think that's always beneficial. So that's sort of my spiel on these different concepts here. CPM, as you see here, so this is a Facebook ad that I ran. I don't even remember when. It was obviously pretty low budget, but our reach was 5,800, and the impressions were 9,000. So again, the difference in numbers here, that just means that's how many times that ad was seen. This number, the reach, is the number of people that saw it. And that meant multiple people saw it more than once. So I think these are very key distinctions. This term CPM is really just the cost that you put into the ad to be seen 1,000 times. I hope that makes sense. This over here is a paid social post that we did on behalf of this Matador Lounge. This was, I believe, last summer. And this was had no paid boost behind it. This was just a short little post that the client sent to us with a photograph. I am shocked at how well it did. And by law, we do disclose that this is an ad. Not everyone does that, but it really is an FCC or FTC violation if you do not. This was all organic. We could have put $100,000 just in boosting this particular Instagram post, but we didn't. Just on its own, I think it did really well organically. So the term organic just means you post it and those are the results that pop up after a week or two, and then your thing is done. But if you put money behind it, then that would be considered a paid post. Okay. I'm just going to blaze through sort of what we offer here at This Is Reno. And please don't take this necessarily as a sales pitch, like you got to sign up and advertise with us. We would love to have your advertising, but I also, and I'm hopefully brutally honest, and I know that our platform is not good for everybody, but it is very good for people who are engaged in the digital space. Across all of our social channels and our website, we have seen 1 million or more impressions. And again, the impressions is the number of times it's seen, not necessarily the number of people. So it's important to note that that's the case. And we have spent a lot of time over the last 7 years really identifying who our audience is. And you remember how I talked about on Facebook, I would have compressed that age range from 18 to 65 to maybe narrow it a little bit more. This is the reason why. Our median age of the people that we reach in the greater Reno area is really 38. So slightly older demographic, and that's fine. These are some of the characteristics that have popped up in our analytics, and just sort of anecdotally, you know, we know for a fact that people, when they go to This Is Reno, they know what they're going to get. They're going to get local news, and they're going to get very specific news coverage. I like to say you're not going to see viral cat videos on This Is Reno unless it's a Reno cat. That's the key difference between what we do and what other local media do. We do not do a lot of national or international coverage, with some exceptions. You know, occasionally we had a photographer, one of our photographers went to Ukraine to cover the war, and we publish his photo galleries on our website because he was a local guy doing an international effort there. So by and large, you're going to see Reno focused news, and sometimes statewide. We've, in the last, I would say, year and a half, we've done more regional and statewide coverage, such as at the Nevada legislature or state house issues. So these are the options that we offer. We will do, and I will also say, we have even done campaigns for clients using Google, Yelp, Instagram, Facebook, I think mainly those. So we have actually managed Google AdWords campaigns and Yelp campaigns for people that have come to us. You're more than welcome to do that on your own, but some people just rely on our background and expertise, and that's fine. We're happy to do that. We've done that for law firms and things like that. But these are generally the offerings that we offer. I will say that our press release distribution or publication is by far our most popular, probably followed by event listings. We have free and paid event listings, and we also offer free and paid business and organization listings as well. I personally think our newsletter ads are more effective than some of these other ones, but that's just my opinion. We actually have a whole suite of branded content sections available to us. Currently, if you go to thisisreno.com, you see the cannabis dispensary, and they have secured that prime placement for the entire year using our branded content platforms, and also social posts and, of course, display ads. So with that in mind, I'm just going to skip through those because I know there may be some questions. And if at any point you have any questions, this presentation will be available online through the chamber. Thank you. And you can ask questions either of myself or Mary Claire, and you can either email us, or I believe we do have a few minutes to take some questions. Are we?
Yes,
Are we
absolutely.
good?
We have plenty
Okay.
of time. Yeah, and we actually have quite a few great questions on chat as well, which is fantastic. So I think what we'll do is we'll go through one or two of the chat questions, and then everyone on the call, please feel free to unmute yourself, use video, and go ahead and ask your questions if you would prefer to that way. But of course, chat is always available to you as well. So we'll go ahead and kick it off with this question from Allie. It's fantastic. She has 3 great questions, actually. How successful do you think an ad can be that's free of cost? I hear so many people piling money into media, but it was created originally, and I think she might be referring to social media, but it was created originally to be a free platform that you utilize. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure what a free ad would look like. I mean, if you're talking about a brand promoting its own content through Instagram or Facebook or whatever, I think that can be very effective versus putting money into it. It just depends. You know, I think, yeah, I would follow brands that are doing really well on social media without doing any paid stuff, and sort of model what they're doing. there's a lot of really good branded TikTok accounts and things like that, like the Cheese Board on California. I don't know if you follow them on Instagram, but they do a lot of like dancing and things like that. And it's very clear to me what they're doing. I mean, they're not doing a hard sell, but they are boosting their brand and their personalities on social media. And I think they do a very good job of it. Was that, Allie, what you were asking?
Yeah, thank you. I was kind of touching bases on, I know a lot of times, you start social media out and you're working with it. And then a lot of times Instagram will be like, great, you're doing awesome, but why don't you pay $10 more to now boost your ad? And then you're like, how effective is that unless I really just buckle down and am like aware of analytics? And, like you said before, it does take time. And a lot of times people don't want to do that. And that's why they'll pay more into it. But speaking for me, I'm 23. I just graduated college. So I took courses like this all the time. And I'm like, gosh, I feel like I could really sit down and do this and not pay into it. So I was curious about you, if you're like, no, sometimes boosting an ad and paying that $10 more actually does really grow your awareness in social media around the community. That was kind of my question.
That's a great question. And I can't say definitively one way or another, but I will tell you what I do. I do not anymore boost our individual posts on Instagram or Facebook. I would instead run a campaign. I don't think Facebook wants those dollars. That's their bread and butter. I personally have been conflicted about that for a number of reasons. I would encourage you to just build your brand. Maybe see, if you're trying to gain more followers, what it would cost to get 100 or 1,000 new followers, let's say on Instagram. We did that for a long time. We built up our audience for a number of years on Facebook using paid campaigns. And I stopped doing that because what I was seeing happen is that even though we had more followers, not as many were increasing viewership for us. So that to me was just flushing money down the toilet. And that's Facebook. So I don't know why that is. I mean, if I publish a post and it only gets 1,000 views or a few hundred, that's a problem with Facebook, in my opinion, and their algorithms. So whether you want to support that or not is really, I think, an individual decision. A lot of people do. And again, I still do campaigns on Facebook, but I don't necessarily boost posts.
Can I'm also going to piggyback on that, if you don't mind. I think a lot of that also goes back to what Bob was saying too, about really, really identifying your audience and knowing where your audience is and being very, very clear. I think that it is not worth spending ad money if you haven't had that identified, because you don't know that you're targeting the right people. And I think that can be a waste of money. I also think it greatly depends on what your product or service is. Some of those things can be, just as well handled if you're doing face-to-face marketing or showing up at chamber meetings and doing that type of thing to get the word out about what you do, versus if you are totally an online e-commerce business. Again, it's a difference of what you're selling and where the people are that you're selling. So really, before you get to spending any money, having those basics down and then the brand consistency. So who are you and what are you selling and who are you selling it to are very, very important before you spend any ad dollars whatsoever. And then, and then getting down to asking whom you're selling to, again, like Facebook offers some, here's your audience, but whomever you're going to advertise to, making sure that they can tell you if they are matching your audience and those strategic goals as well.
Fantastic.
Well said, Mary.
Yes, absolutely. All right, next question. What platform do you see digital marketing being most efficient in today's culture?
I wouldn't say efficient, but we did a reel. I'm doing more with reels and like TikTok type things. And to me, it's a mixed curse or maybe a mixed blessing. I'm not sure which. We did one. I was at Pride on Saturday and I just did I kid you not, like a 10-second video, vertical video, which also drives me nuts, but that's a whole different conversation. But 10-second video of the Pride parade's about to start. And I looked last night, and that video, it was a reel, had 48,000 views on it, which was shocking to me, because I would personally love to see a 5-minute video on YouTube go in depth with a story or a subject matter expert or whatever the case is and get that same amount of views. But the attention span for the TikTok generation seems to be the 10, 30-second videos. And boy, are they really popular right now. I think they're great for boosting your brand. I'm not sure they're great for informing the public. Entertaining them, of course, yes, that's definitely there. But yeah, I don't know. Efficient, I don't know. I don't know. I would, you know, if I was starting all over, I frankly, and I even posted this on Facebook the other day. I said, I'm trying to figure out a way to get off of Facebook because I don't think it's as effective. And considering all the money historically I've put into it, both to get our followers and also, you know, boosting content for our clients. It just seems like they've made it worse and worse and worse. And that money is not being as effectively spent as it could be. So I would probably do Instagram and like TikTok and things like that, and Reels on like Facebook. And I think Twitter's now doing those things too. And I don't know. It's so much.
It changes by the day.
Yeah.
And I would agree. I think the question of efficiency is an audience question, to piggyback off Mary Claire's comments earlier. It's a question of, you know, where your audience is found. I know for the chamber, as odd as this is, but also on brand as this is, our most efficient social media platform, and I define that by saying our most engaged audience, is found on LinkedIn, which doesn't really come as a surprise because we are, you know, primarily known as a business and nonprofit organization. So it makes sense that that would be a place where our content would thrive in particular. But it really does depend. For the news business, Twitter was always one of our absolute best platforms. And so it really does just depend on who you're trying to reach. And to Mary Claire's point, just making that discovery is job one. All right.
Hey, Bob, can I say something, please? Hi there. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, our organization also moved away from Facebook and Instagram. We were working very closely with that platform for over 2.5 years. And as of July 12th, we are now offering our clients extended reach, which is quite a bit of the programming that you also offer your clients. But target audience, I work with Reno's wealthiest guarded neighborhoods. So you got to be really specific with who you want to be in front of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very critical. And I think it was Sparks Water Bar. Did I get that correct? It's on. Yeah, I mean, if I was doing their marketing, and I'm sure you're probably already doing this, but I would, you know, very geo target, be heavy in your geo targeting, you know, and make sure you're capturing the people walking around the Sparks Marina as they come in, and it's like, oh yeah, I would really like a refreshing cocktail. So I would be very aggressive with the geography component of how you would target that.
Yeah, we use geofencing as well for our program, and it only goes to the readership of our magazine. So so it's really very niche.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's quite fascinating, everybody's saying, and Mary sort of hit on it very well, is that, well, no one sort of talked about retention. But right now, we all know that when the media started to change, I've been a print media gentleman for a very, very long time. And for me, when it all went online, everybody wanted instant gratification. Well, that's cool for branding, get that new logo out, get that new name out, your new location, but we all still need that retention. So if who would you recommend, if any, for digital based on retention?
You mean like a firm?
Sparks Insider Magazine, just to let you know. Just like Twitter and these other people. Because I don't use any of them. We have it for my personal, and that was because of my cigar company all over the world. That was a way for us to keep in contact with people when Facebook first came out. I think it was Mary that I met at the basketball. Yeah. look, I sent you a little link to remind you, let's get together.
Okay.
But what,
Yeah.
who is giving a retention? Because great, we can boost, but when you boost, how many times are they going to actually continue to do this for you? Are they going to put you in front of the market again 4 or 5 times? Can you program that?
I have one answer that I can offer up if on that. And I think retention is where, again, knowing your audience, knowing your platform is very important. Also, you going out and actively engaging who it is that you want to work with. So not only using digital advertising from a paid standpoint, and yes, I'm going out and I have this ad, but you going and looking at the ad and you going and looking at the comment and you engaging with the people that either you do work with or you want to work with. And so honestly, some of that comes, and Bob will probably have a different, answer from a slightly different standpoint. But for me, a lot of that just comes down to sweat equity and you sitting at your computer and you scrolling through, as painful as it might be, whatever platform you have identified your audience is on, and going and engaging with those people where they're at.
I got you.
And you having that high touch, because that's how you're going to retain them. Even when it's just like, oh, I saw you got a new puppy, has nothing to do with your business. But
No, I got you on our retention platform. I'm referring to what platform would you guys use that will resend your message to your audience every quarter, every year, automatically do this stuff for you? Who offers that in digital media?
Automatically? I don't know of anyone that would automatically do it. Yeah, in fact, I would not necessarily recommend that. But in terms of if I understand the question, in terms of retention,
No, they're not the retention. We all know about retention. When you guys are talking about digital media, I mean, I understand it. I'm in print media. So for me, I retain my people every quarter because I'm quarterly. But is there a digital platform out there that I'm naive to that you can just go, okay, great, Facebook, here's my budget, and hit these people for me every quarter or see, I want to be in front of somebody multiple times. I'm looking for a long-term relationship with anyone I do business with. So can you guys recommend any platform that's digital that can keep me in front of them instead of me always constantly having to play their game?
Yeah, I can. And it's a little low tech, but or old tech, I should say, but it's for us a constant, and that is MailChimp or Constant Contact, or there's another one that off the top of my head, I don't know, but we auto send our newsletter Monday through Thursday. We have a customized newsletter on Tuesday afternoon, and then another customized letter on Friday. And our newsletter grew significantly during the pandemic from about 5,000 up to about 10,000. And we've remained fairly static with that. We grow a little bit, drop a little bit. And I personally weed out people off our newsletter because I don't want to have that negatively influence our click rates.
Gotcha.
So for us, that's the best way.
Yeah, for me, what I was referring to is not emailing. I'm actually the guy who's behind Chimp and also Constant. They use my platforms. I'm referring to these people for social media. I was referring to, like, you have your Facebook. They don't offer it. You have all these other ones. I'm referring to the social media. I'm not referring so much to the internet. It's just like if it's our magazines, every one of our press releases, ads, or whatever, we have the print, but we also have the online. So on the online, you actually can link to whatever custom website they want you to go to. So we have all that. I'm referring to, is anyone rolled out anything unique like Facebook, like a group, an organization, where they will actually introduce you to that organization again multiple times? I'm not talking about our newsletters and our emails. I'm just, have you guys come across anything that's social media? I haven't.
That's where agencies come in. I really do. I think if you're operating at that
working?
Yeah, I think at that, when you're operating a level where you have this spend and you have the need to do a constant engagement like that, but you want to stay on brand, but you want to keep your messaging fresh. I think that's when you start engaging a social media agency, because then they'll take that and they'll run with it, and they'll do it as often or as little as you want across whichever platforms are appropriate based upon the dollar amount you give them. So I think really when you want to get to that constant level, I think engaging a social media agency is probably the best way to go, because also they understand.
That's what I was asking you, Mary, because I have a social agency. I have my own agency. So I believe in keeping.
You're it.
I
You
believe, I believe in keeping public relations alive. I
Yeah.
just thought maybe you guys in the IT world, since you guys are so fresh and so raw, so new into the marketplace, that maybe you came across somebody that did this, because in Canada, it did happen about 12 years ago. And in Thailand, it did happen about 4 years ago. But all of those got purchased by major conglomerates and we lost those. And instead, they just became constant, like constant contact, where you're sending out an email. It all went dumbed down back to that. And so that's why I was just asking. No, we have our own ad agencies and PR firms and all that. So no, we understand that. But no, great. I'm just happy that you guys are explaining all these terminologies and keeping these people informed, especially these young ones that are only 23 out of college. That's amazing. So thank you, Chamber. I'm going to shut up for a while and just listen.
I was gonna.
Can I jump in?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to jump in about that, because I think with you doing print, don't discredit the email marketing, because I know for me and like our demographic at Sparks Water Bar, which feeds into like, Garwood's, Riva Grill, like that already established chain, we rely heavy through email. However, I know for me, I'm like, how do we get the young generation to come in? Because a lot of young people are not using email. The people though that are reading your print are going to also be reading email. So I would still tap into that market, because that's going to be the people that are always going to stay loyal. However, how I brought in young people to get in on our email system, and this might be something fresh you can use, we created a QR code. And so our QR code, we made a program around it, and it's actually called Register Your Woody, because we do the wet woody. That's our famous drink. So it's funny. It has a spin to it. People are like, what? I want to register my woody, like my wet woody. And what you do is you get news updates. You're in an exclusive group that you get emails based off the drink. All the exclusive group is my email chain from Constant Contact. But the customer doesn't know that. And then what I did on top of that is I created like a birthday rewards program. So when you sign up, you get a free wet woody on your birthday, which incentivizes that. So all I did was create another free platform to feed into something I've already done. So for you, you might be able to put a QR code in your print, like paper, like your magazine, and then a viewer that's younger would be like, oh my gosh, easy, I can scan this and boom, I'm in. And that might be how you can, run that. And on social media too, you can post your QR code.
I caught you on these, but that wasn't my question. And I really did not mean to say anti-email, because we email to 1.9 million people every day in the States, and 4.6 million in 160 countries. No, I wasn't splashing email. I was asking for a new technology through social media that
I might be able to jump in. I think I'm understanding what you're saying. Hi, I'm Sarah. I work at the Northern Nevada Business Solutions office, and I manage all of our platforms for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, email blasts, all of it. It sounded to me more like you were wanting a way to get content out there regularly. And some of these platforms offer scheduling for free, like Facebook and Twitter. You can set up all the content and posts you want to go out there and schedule it for when you want it to launch. So like you mentioned your press releases, you can just grab that link, schedule it to post. There's also free and paid options like Hootsuite, where you can have all your platforms in one place.
Yeah, Hoot, I remember when that got off the ground.
LinkedIn, you cannot schedule content on unless you are using a third-party scheduler such as Hootsuite, but it makes it more streamlined. You can click all platforms at once if you want the same message to go out on your platforms. It'll show you the best opportune time to maybe make that post where your followers will most likely see your post. So you may get more views on that information. And it also gives you your analytics all in one place.
I'm familiar with some.
That sounded more like.
I was just hoping if somebody else came out with more of the journalism background like we do, where we're a quarterly magazine. We have multiple magazines here in the state, so we're doing fine. I'm just looking for like our events, like we're rolling out greatbasinevents.com right now. And, we're actually doing our news reels and everything we're doing our interviews and all that stuff. So we're just looking for another platform other than babysitting the old fashioned way with a PR firm. And that's really what I'm trying to get away from. With this technology today, I was hoping that we could come across one platform that can actually do this. And Canada did have this about 4 years ago, and I'm just not coming across it in the IT industry. So Sarah,
Yeah,
I just
I'm not aware of anything like that. But are there any other questions? Because I think we're just about out of time before we go.
That's right. We are just about out of time. We can probably take one more question if people want to hang on. Otherwise, we should probably start wrapping up.
I want to say hi to Crystal Pyatt and Mara Langer. Good to see you both online.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
All
Any
right.
last questions? Or so our contact is in that presentation. Christine will send that out. So any follow-up questions, we're here. We're happy to. We're usually pretty quick to respond. So thank you so much for being here and listening to our spiel. And hopefully it was somewhat helpful and gives you some ideas on moving forward.
Bob, it was great. I appreciate you explaining all that to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Yeah,
We'll
thank
do
you
this
so
again.
much, Bob and Mary Claire. We appreciate you. And,
Thank you.
and on behalf of the chamber, thank you to all of our members who came today. We appreciate you very much and hope to see you very soon. And we'll keep you updated on when future marketing workshops will be available. Have a good day, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.